Those we usually only wear them when we're going to the or any Father be gone or something like that. But, you know, with a vest, it's like anything. You get used to it. Honestly, the belt's more uncomfortable. Sometimes the vest is.
When we came in, y'all were talking. I heard somebody killed a 19-foot python down in South Florida.
Oh, really?
Cut him open, 2 boxes of Broward County Ballots.
That's a good one.
No poll worker.
That's a good one.
Are you kidding me? They still got people in the back marking those ballots right now.
Yes, they do. It really is.
Yeah.
It's not 11, but it, yeah, yes.
Well, you know, the supervisors
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin.
Yes.
I call this workshop of Tuesday, November the 13th, 2016, to order at 6:05 p.m. May we please stand for the invocation given by Vice Mayor Mervin and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, in the name of Jesus, God, we come before you, God, right now, thanking you and praising you, God, for this day. God, we ask you, God, as we convene into our meetings, oh God, we ask you, God, give us guidance, give us understanding, most of all, give us respect, oh God. God, we ask you, God, give us insight, oh God, into the city business, oh God. Bless each commissioner, bless our city staff and our citizens. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bass,
Present.
Commissioner Everett, Commissioner Hill,
Present.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Present.
Commissioner Walker, City Manager,
Here.
City Attorney,
Here.
Sergeant Davis Partridge, here, Interim City Clerk present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff, and thank each of you for being here tonight to participate in our workshop of Tuesday, November the 13th, 2016. This workshop of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee is being held to discuss the agenda of November 13, 2018. At this time, I'll turn this portion over to our City Manager to lead us in the discussion of our agenda.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission, citizens. Thank you for coming out tonight. Maybe this change of hour gets you a little tired early sometimes when you see darkness coming at 5:15. I know in City Hall, they kind of empty out pretty quick now when it gets dark, and that's okay. Kind of the change of the season does that. We have tonight, Mayor, 4 resolutions, and we have 2 add-ons. I'm going to go through the resolutions first. 2018-67, that's a resolution for the annual Christmas parade. Christmas parade will be December 3rd, which is a Monday. Lineup, I believe, is 4 o'clock for that. While I'm on that subject, if you're planning, commissioners, to be in the Christmas parade, we no longer get free rental cars from the Belgrade dealership, so you have to supply your own car for the Christmas parade, or you can get on the city float. We typically have one available with our kids from Parks and Recreation, so please keep that in mind. Resolution 2018-68, this is the approval of the Bank of Belgrade financing of one of our projects here at Parks and Recreations, our football field renovations. Resolution 2018-69 is a resolution for providing counsel on the bond for those services, again, for that loan. Resolution 28-68, that was 68. 69 is, okay, I'll confuse those two. Gary's looking at me. I'll confuse those two. The bond was 69, and the 68 is actual loan itself. That's resolution 2018-70, again, is the actual loan concerning that same project. Did I say that right, City Attorney? I'm just getting it mixed up tonight. I'm saying it right. All right. And we have 2 additions. One addition is the as-is contract for sale of the old hospital, finally. Thank you. And resolution 28-72 is the additional change order for a project at the marina on the restaurant deck. There was, as I said in the not last meeting, but at the town hall, that there was some architectural changes, engineering changes, and this is the change to that particular project at this time. So that's 2018-71 resolution as an add-on, and 2018-72 resolution as an add-on. If you have any questions at this time about the agenda, I think this is a time where we can workshop a few things. If not, I can give a quick update, Mayor, on maybe some of our projects, if that's fair to the commission at this time.
That's fine.
And can I ask this question?
Yes, sir.
Resolution 68, 69, 70 is regarding our Parks and Rec field,
Right, football field.
football field. And I know we were in conversations with PNC at one time.
Right.
And I see now Bank of Belgrade. And I might be the Lone Ranger tonight, but I'm a little on the fence with this turf. What all is going to be done on the field? Not just, I mean, what all are we doing on that particular site? And I know we've had conversations, so I'm not oblivious, and I'm not treating this as if this is the first time me hearing this. But I must admit that I do have some reservations, and I'm just one person among this commission with regards to, I think our field needs upgrading, but I'm on the fence as to, you know, getting the Avalon or buying a Mercedes, so to speak.
You want me to explain this project?
Yes, please.
In 2016, before you worry like that, the citizens of this county went before into the voting booth and voted on the surtax, penny surtax in this county. And that was for municipalities to upgrade their amenities, streets, sidewalks, anything they felt was necessary under the surtax dollars. What the county did, and what, along with the state, of course, because this money comes down from the state through the county as a surtax, they assessed all of our needs in this city. so did the staff. And then we presented to Palm Beach County and the state projects that were needed in this city. It could be streets, it could be sidewalks. Again, it could be right here at Parks and Recreation. A lot of our money is going into our classrooms already. It could be a variety of things. And so once we settled on that list in 2016, that was then presented to the county. And that list then was turned over to an oversight surtax committee. So every time I spend surtax dollars, that oversight committee has to get a report quarterly. This is one of those projects that was approved by every citizen in this county, voted on, and now, starting in late 2017, those surtax dollars come to the city of Pahokee in about an excess of about anywhere between $29,000 to maybe $33,000 a month. We are allocated to get over the next 9 years now, going on 8 years now because we're a year and a half into the surtax program, about $3 million. Sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? But when you spread that out on all the sidewalks we got to repair, MLK Park is one of those projects. Commissioners Park, there's some additional things for that amenity. The old Pahokee High School, certainly here at Parks and Recreations, we're not even 50% into some of the repairs we need to do. That $3 million gets thin fairly quickly. So this is not a project that has come into existence yesterday. It was voted on almost 2 years ago to the date last week. And so these are not projects that we can keep on the shelf, because as the surtax dollars come in, we now as a city must begin to roll those projects out and complete them. That's why every quarter, the surtax oversight committee in this county meets and asks me for an update. So this is a project that has already been vetted, has been researched, has been approved, has been voted on. So it's going to happen. And it has to happen because, for one thing, as you know, the amenities here for Parks and Recreation have been subpar for too long. The gymnasium, the football field, no seating. We have a very old facility. This is one of those projects. This community deserves it, and we're going to push forward to ensure they have it. Now, the project itself. The project is we're removing the grass out there because there's an irrigation system on there that's decayed, and so it doesn't maintain the grass at the level it should. We felt that a sustainable system is the field turf. Field Turf is an organization that, if you watch NFL football on Sundays, if you watch NCAA football on Saturdays, that artificial turf, that really nice, pretty green turf, that's what you're looking at. That's the company that's going to install Field Turf here. What that provides us is a state-of-the-art football field that'll be lasting. In addition to that, we'll be adding stadium seating to this facility as well. Right now, it has nothing. Parents come for football games, got to stand up on the sideline. We need to change that. Again, this is an amenity that is very needed in this department for this city in Parks and Recreation. So we're gonna, when we get to that part, Mayor, we'll show the football field on the big screen to let everyone know how this project's gonna roll out, how it's gonna look. But again, to answer your question, it's a project that is well deserved. They're gonna pull up all the grass and lay down field turf, which is sustainable beyond what you have out there today. What's not included in that is the actual stadium seating, which that we're drawing quotes in for that now. That's separate, but that'll be a part of the project. So once we're done, the city's athletic field will be one of that rivals the $3 million one they're building in Belgrade. We're not trying to keep up with Belgrade, but we want to ensure that the citizens here, this football program, Parks and Recreations Department has a state-of-the-art facility that's not only going to be used for football. You're talking soccer tournaments, other open air events that can now be done here. You're talking about changing the conversation of what this amenity would do for this community as well. So it's something that we're looking forward to getting started.
contingency plans in terms of upkeep? Not to insult your intelligence, but have we been at least, and I thank you for giving me the background
Yes, sir.
information regarding
Yes, sir.
surtax 2016. These are plans that have been vetted and voted on, but has upkeep and all of those things, not to insult you or the or the staff's
Yes, sir.
intelligence. Has that been factored
Yes.
into this?
Warranties come with this installation. Field Turf has been very successful at coming in and making sure that whatever installations Field Turf they install, first of all, the initial installation is designed to last. I'll wait. All right, so the initial installation of the Field Turf is designed to last first 10 years. And what Field Turf does is they do periodic inspections to ensure that it's being maintained. If there's a section that needs to be replaced, those things are under warranty. And so there is some maintenance, but very little as versus real-time grass on a football field.
I gotta play devil's advocate for a minute, city manager. If this is you're mentioning about the surtax and the surtax dollars and this, but this is a loan, so.
No, it's not a loan. We're getting a loan because the way our surtax dollars come in, we're not getting $3 million up front over the next 10 years. You're getting like $30,000 every month, and it comes in on time every month.
Okay.
So for us to pay for this project here that's on the stream, we went and got a loan, and then we'll pay the loan back over the next 6.5, 7 years. 5 years. Thank you. Was 8, but now it's 5. Yeah, with those dollars.
Okay.
And that loan
That's
every
the part
month
I
is only
think
$8,000.
Okay.
So $8,000 a
be
month,
explained.
getting $30,000 a month. 5 years, you got 9 more years for surtax. The field is already paid for. It's not coming out of general funds, as I've heard before. We're not going bankrupt. It's already paid for with your surtax dollars, which is not a part of your general fund.
Next, one question for clarification. The field itself, was that specifically outlined on one of the items for our surtax use
Yeah,
that we submitted to the
Yes.
county originally?
yes, yes. Now, we do change our surtax projects, and I might speak about that later if another conversation comes up. But I've had to shift some of our surtax dollars. But we can modify some of our projects. Yeah, as long as they're
What
minimal.
I'm saying, was that one of the original projects?
Yes, everything that's happening at Parks and Recreations is a part of that project list. Yeah, the inside, the outside, everything, not including the gymnasium. But you have to recall, at the time, the reason why the gymnasium didn't make it on there, because we had a commitment from another organization. Had I known that wasn't gonna pan out, gymnasium would have been on that list as well. Any additional questions, Commissioner Everett? Okay.
Not this time.
Yes, sir. Well, man, I know that clock back there is not operating, but we got about 7 minutes. If it pleases the commission, I want to give a couple of updates.
Okay.
Okay. The marina renovations, we have 3 projects still ongoing. The deck coming along well. The tiki bar, they just put the new roof on. And of course, the public park side. Now, there was a question asked a couple of weeks ago when we're going to open up the seawall for folks can go back fishing. I'm saying tonight we're going to more than likely have that. Well, I'm not going to say more than likely. I'm going to say by December 1st, the seawall will be back open for fishing. And as I promised, I said it'll be a couple of weeks, and that's right at the end of November. So December 1st, we'll be back open. Now, when we open the seawall back up, that doesn't mean that folks will be allowed into those construction zone areas. It's only a couple of areas that'll be closed off. That's the park side on the north side of the lake. And of course, any construction going on or renovations going on at the restaurant, the tiki bar, and of course on the back side of the restaurant, which is where they're putting the deck. We'll try to put up a different type of gate right there in that little area off the sidewalk. And so if people want to walk in that area, they'll be free to, but they won't have access to those construction zones.
Is that a rock solid date
Yes,
etched in stone?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And I know it's
we've
getting
been
that
side-
season, so I know I gotta go ahead and
We
release
could have
it.
been sidelined with regards to the reopening so that individuals can
Right,
fish and
Yes.
just enjoy.
yes,
the
sir.
marina.
Yeah, I guarantee you, December 1st.
Just for
And I might get a little happy and do it the week before.
Yeah, just for transparency, what is preventing it to be open now? Just for information for the public, what is stopping us from doing it now?
I want to get just a couple of more weeks in with what's going on the North Park side. There's traffic in and out that still needs the review by the security before they get in. And once I can get some more security barriers that will move down to the base of the marina, which is the entry point into the park, we'll place those barriers there. Then security will move from the top of the dike to that entryway area to the north side. As I said before, the other smaller projects, they'll be gated off. And when those things go into place, which will be over the next 2 weeks, then we can open it up.
For the sake, the piggyback off the mayor, for the sake of transparency, what projects are still looming on the marina, or still dangling that is preventing the public from accessing it? Because I guess it would be good for us to really, put it out there, keep them, because I have a member that I have to see every Sunday and Wednesday that is very vocal and has come to commission meetings with regards to this.
Yeah.
And when they look to the layman's eye, and even to mine, because I'm not a construction worker, I don't see that aggressive amount of work being done. So what are those things that are dangling that would prevent one from going on the marina?
Couple of things. Waiting for the state to come do an inspection, waiting for my insurance to come down and do an inspection. Those things were completed. And now I need to purchase some things that will prevent access to other areas. They haven't been delivered yet. It'll probably take another week or so to get those things here. As I said, I'm saying December 1st, but it may be sooner than that. Once we put those other barriers in place, I can have a conversation on how we're going to adjust the security hours, because it'll be less hours of security at the top of the dike. We just need them at the entry point to the public side. So very few things are keeping us from opening up, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Very few things. And it's just some housekeeping things I need to take care of first to ensure that when we do release the seawall back open, that these other areas will be secured where they can't have access to them. They're not in place right now.
And I know the conversation about this aspects of this marina can't get touchy. And I guess one of the things I want to talk about, not so much the marina, but other areas that you and I have had one-on-one conversations about with regards to care of our properties. In terms of lawn care and maintenance. And I know me and you had a one-on-one conversation with regards to that, and you assured me that you would be talking with staff regarding that. Do we have an aggressive plan to combat those areas of concern that we have with our properties?
Well, the marina is on a schedule for regular grass cutting. This time of year, I go out and contract with a company to do the mating cane, because I know it's gotten high. Waiting on my second quote for that. And once I get my second quote, and this is acceptable, we'll start cutting the mating cane. I know that's a concern, especially on the campground side. We got to get it ready for the season. That's seasonal. But the grass cutting occurs ongoing throughout the year. Now, I know there's been some conversations about, we got to water the new plants up there. But we got, several hundred new plants up there. And We all knew there was no irrigation networks up there. Irrigation system is shot. The plants that were there before, they were not seasonal. They were all season, which is why they stay green most of the time. These are plants that are not all seasonal. They need water on a constant basis, and you can see that. Barring going out there with a water hose every day and telling staff don't do your essential duties but stand here with a water hose and water a plant, it's not going to get watered until we fix that irrigation system. Now, are we not sensitive to the plants that were installed there? Of course not. You know, the two staff that are working up there, they're told when you have an opportunity, please water these plants as much as you can when your schedule allows. So we're very sensitive to that. You know, we certainly want to save as many plants as possible. And because we're out of rainy season now, or we're going into the non-rainy season, and we're going into more of the fall season, a lot of things will kind of turn brown on us somewhat. But, you know, we're doing our best to save as many plants as possible and sort of, keep them alive until our rainy season comes back. And until we can address the entire irrigation system, which is not a small irrigation system. They have a very, massive irrigation system, and it goes from one end of the not campground, but the marina area and restaurant area to the other side. And there are breakages in numerous places. And so that is something we have to address with phase 2 of our funding moving forward. But we were all aware that that irrigation system didn't work even before we put plants in there. But we're doing our best to try to save as many plants as possible. I was kidding with the mayor. We need to have a water day, that we just go out there with some water hoses and stand there and water all day, because that's what it's going to take, to save every plant out there. But we're doing the best that we can with what we have in the system that is not operable right now. But again, we had a conversation about that, me and the mayor, and I know it's sensitive because it was a project that was not really included on our project list, but when it got there, we know we have to take care of it. So we're going to do our best to save those flowers, ensure it doesn't die. But outside of that, our regular maintenance for the marina hasn't changed. I just need to get our contract in place for our maiden cane for the season and get that taken care of as soon as possible. The public side, I'm not overly concerned about because no one's going to that area right now, and that contract is actually going to do that side once they get further along with their completion of that project. I'm more concerned about the campground right now, getting it prepared for the season, make sure it's presentable, and that's the contract that we're going to put in place for addressing all of the maiden cane.
So you're only gonna do that season? Not all
Man.
year?
Yes.
Want me to answer that, Mayor? There was a question.
I didn't hear it.
It came from the audience.
Yes, you gonna ask him?
You want me to answer? Because
Yes,
we're in
that's
workshop. What I've found is, I know it grows aggressively periodically through the year, but I do focus on this time of year from November until May, because I know that's high season for our campers. But, in hindsight, it's something that has to be ongoing care. You're not just seasonal. I'm just saying that now because I know I'm in season.
Is there a way that maybe off season they could just be sprayed just to
Yes.
keep it
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, all season. After we cut it this time, all season. So, yes,
And when I brought
all
up
season.
and
Sorry if I misled you on that.
And city manager, when I brought up the issue of, maintenance of properties, you and I had a conversation with regards to that. It's not just marina for me, because citizens live in all parts of Pahokee.
Correct.
And so there were other areas, we can't be aggressive in enforcing code when our properties aren't looking like they should be looking. And so
Right.
that was one of my concerns,
Right.
is, making sure that we were more aggressive with maintaining what we own.
Well, one thing I encourage is, if something's being missed or not on a periodic schedule to be cut in a timely manner, just let me know. I pass that down to the Director of Public Works, and we'll take care of it. So if it's something that's being missed, shoot me an offline conversation, and I'll get it, to the Director of that department. We'll take care of it. But I agree with you. We have to maintain our properties and set an example. because that's the only way that we can expect our residents to follow suit as well.
And since we're on maintenance, how's the maintenance of the cemetery going, and when will we be introduced to the new, I guess, supervisor? And how's that process going, just quickly?
We have a new manager out there, supervisor out there. He's getting his feet wet a lot with the paperwork, the scheduling, and he's changing a lot of the dynamics of how they maintenance the cemetery. We found that there are some gaps in how we provide the proper lawn service, and so he's filling those gaps with that staff and rearranging their schedules and giving them a schedule of projects to do on a daily basis. It really wasn't about more help. It was about prioritizing what needed to be done out there on a daily basis. And so that's what we're going through now as he, learns the administrative side of it as well. Now, I do plan to add an additional person out there as promised, but I think it's going very well. He's not up to full-time yet, based on some other HR things that affect his, I don't want to talk about that, but he's not full-time yet. He's not every day at the cemetery, but I have seen a drastic improvement. He's changed a lot of the processes that the staff does out there, from their schedule to the project that they're doing to how they're maintaining the cemetery and individual family plots, et cetera. And so I think you will see, well, I know you will see an improvement moving forward with this new manager. Not saying that the last manager wasn't, good as well, but he's looking at approaching the problem in a different way and ensuring that we can address some of those things that families were bringing to the light earlier in this year.
In the mowing of the property, are we having some of that subcontracted out, or we're continuing to do it on our own?
We're doing it on our own because there was gaps in services. Again, I don't want to talk HR policy-wise and scheduling, but there were some gaps in how we were taking care of that cemetery, using our time wisely from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. The schedule of what they were doing didn't align with why that cemetery looked the way it looked. Now that we've rearranged our schedules and we've gone out there with even public works staff and did some things, we took the whole public works crew out there and sort of try to help catch them up. They're now at a pace now where they can maintain the cemetery with the staff that they have. But again, I'm going to add an additional staff out there with some additional equipment to assist in that. I just think it required a full crew to go out there and really address some of the issues that had fallen behind on the schedule. And now that we've sort of gotten ahead of the schedule as far as maintenance is concerned, we can kind of go back to the staff that's there to maintaining it. They're able to maintain it properly now, as versus trying to always play catch up with the overgrown grass here, there, weedy today, lawn tomorrow. But if I see if there's a need in the future for that, we'll go down that highway again and look for some extra help.
Okay, thank you, City Manager.
Sir.
Time has expired on our workshop. At this point, I'm going to adjourn the workshop and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
City Clerk,
Yes, sir.
City Manager,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Walker, Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin. Thank you. I call this meeting of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, regular commission meeting of Tuesday, November the 13th, to order at 6:42 p.m. May we please stand for the invocation given by Minister McPherson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we just thank you for this gathering, this time of fellowship. Father, I ask that you just look over this meeting. Father, I ask that you just give us knowledge and wisdom to do the business that you have entrusted us with, Father. We ask that you just watch down on our city, Father, that you send your protecting angels, Father, against all the violence and the things that are occurring in our city, Father. We ask that you just bless these elected officials, Father, with wisdom that will be pleasing in your sight, Father. We just give you all the praises and all love in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Commissioner Everett,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Present.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Present.
Commissioner Walker, City Manager,
Here.
City Attorney,
Present.
Sergeant Davis Partridge,
Present.
Interim City Clerk present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff, and thank each of you for being here tonight to participate in our regular commission meeting of Tuesday, November the 13th, 2018. We'll now just move right into our agenda. City Manager, this time, do we have in addition to the agenda item?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution 2018-71. This is a resolution for sale and purchase of the old hospital, 2018-71. And we have Resolution 2018-72. That is a change order on the renovations at the restaurant deck. And that attachment is in your portfolio. That's it, Mayor.
There's also
What? I'm sorry.
add-on
Add-on.
stipulation and settlement agreement
Yes,
regarding the countrywide lawsuit.
yes. Thank you,
Okay.
City Attorney.
Are that going to be a separate item, or that's going to be covered under your agenda?
Under my
item?
item.
Thank you.
You said country.
Town and Country,
Okay.
State Market Road. Thank you, City Attorney.
Okay. City Commissioners, are there in addition add-ons?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I would like to add under old business, an update from City Manager regarding Glade Citizen Villa, Commissioners Park, Barfield Highway, and the Marina.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Are there any additional add-on requests?
Can I put that in my report?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir.
I think, Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I would like for us to possibly provide some redress to the conversation that we had in the town hall meeting concerning the possibility or the lack thereof of pushing agreements prior to. I think there was some cloudiness in midst, during the meeting, and I think we need to, at best, clear up any cloudedness and provide some facts as it relates to where we are legally, you know, legal-wise, where we are and the steps that we need to take, you know, moving forward. You know, especially per conversation that you and I've had.
Yes, sir.
Telephone.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any deletions from the agenda? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the add-ons.
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I would like to offer a motion that we accept the agenda as it is printed, also along with the additions that have been added.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin that we'll accept and approve the agenda as presented with the add-ons that was listed. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The agenda approved by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to the citizen comments. Must be agenda item only, must have a comment card completed. City Clerk, at this time, do we have any comment card completed?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll move to our public service announcement. Also must have a public service comment card completed. City Clerk, at this time, do we have any public service announcement card completed?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we're moving to the approval of the minutes of July 24th, 2018, a workshop.
Mayor, I'd like to approve the minutes for July 24th, 2018 workshop minutes. Is it July?
Looking for a second.
Second?
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Everett for the approval of the July 24th, 2018 workshop minutes. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote?
Question. July 24th, why so late?
I think if I'm not out of order here with the city clerk, that was a transitional period with the last city clerk to this city clerk, and that, if I'm not mistaken, was that the workshop for the budget?
I believe
It's a budget
so.
workshop.
No, it was Ms. Warner's last workshop here, so.
Right, right. So there was a transitional period and it was left out for approval. Seems long ago, but
Yeah, very
we
long.
gotta, yeah.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Any additional questions? Are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The workshop minutes of July 24th, 2018 passes by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to the September the 25th, 2018 special meeting minutes.
That was a special meeting for the budget process as well.
Mayor, I'd like to approve the minutes for September 25th, 2018 special meeting minutes.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Everett for the approval of the September 25th, 2018 special minutes to a special meeting. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The September 25th, 2018 special meeting minutes has been approved by unanimous vote. We don't have any consent agenda items. We do have one ordinance, but that's going to be on the public hearing, so we're going to refer that as the agenda presents itself. Next, we'll entertain resolution. We have Resolution 2018-67. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, authorizing the mayor execution of an application to the Florida Department of Transportation for a permit for the annual Pahokee Christmas Parade.
City Commissioners, having heard and had Resolution 2018-67 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I would like to offer a motion that we accept Resolution 2018-67 as it has been read in our hearing.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption of Resolution 2018-67. Are you ready for vote? I'm sorry. Call for questions.
City, if you could go over again what you stated in the workshop about the rental car.
Since not last year, but the year before last, we stopped. The dealership in Beverly no longer gives us rental cars. They used to do it as a courtesy to us. They don't do it anymore. So if you're planning to be in the Christmas parade, please let the city clerk know so she can let the chamber know so you can be in the lineup. If you are going to use your personal car, etc., please let us know that as well. Some may need drivers, so we need to make sure we have all of that completed before the end of this month. If there's any type of signage that you may be requesting, please let the city clerk know that as well, so we can get that ordered. I think the mayor has a real nice sign. I don't know where he got it from, but maybe he can give us the input on that vendor, so I can make sure if someone wants that request, we can take care of it on the city's responsibility.
Okay.
Never mind about the signs. They're going to be made for you. Never mind. Thank you very much, Chamber. Let them off the hook. Gotcha.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-67
6-7.
passes by unanimous vote. Now we'll entertain Resolution 2018-68. City Attorney.
This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, authorizing and directing the mayor to sign the loan terms of the Bank of Belgrade for the financing of an artificial turf playing field, and to further direct the mayor and the city manager to take the necessary actions to close the bank loan with the Bank of Belgrade. The purchase of the field turf itself is $682,000. The city intends to use $100,000 of money already collected from the discretionary surtax as a down payment, and borrow $582,280 plus closing costs from the Bank of Belgrade, which will give the city a 4.4% tax exempt interest rate. So the cost of putting together the financing and the cost of the contract will be in excess of $700,000. What will occur next, if the commission approves these items tonight, is at your very next meeting, we will have a set of closing documents for you also to approve, which will then enable the loan to be closed before the end of November. That's the time frame we need to close it in to lock in that interest rate. Interest rates are on the way up now, so we don't want to postpone that closing date for fear that the bank will up the interest rate on us. And then at that time, when the loan actually closes, will be the time in which the mayor signs the documents with the bank, and also the document that is the contract with Field Turf for the acquisition. Don't want to sign that before you have the money in your hand. So we have the commitment of the bank that's attached to this resolution. If you have any questions on it, I can answer those at this point.
So this will be paid back with the,
It's paid back by the discretionary sales tax that was put in place, which you receive a monthly sum of that will be sufficient to pay this off. This is what's called a non-ad valorem bank loan. And the only thing that's pledged to the bank is the discretionary sales tax and such other non-ad valorem taxes revenue as necessary to pay off the loan. So no tax money is pledged. You aren't pledging the general revenue powers of the city, and you are not giving liens on anything other than the amount of discretionary sales tax that you need to pay the loan.
Normally, Commissioners, we would entertain your question once we get a motion and a second, but since this is a item that's will obligate the city for a substantial amount of money, although it's surtax, I want you to make sure that you ask any question you have at this time, and once we do have a motion and a second, you can ask some additional questions if your original question haven't been satisfactorily answered.
The only question, Mr. Mayor, is I think it was self-explanatory from the city attorney, as in it does not put the city per se in debt, because it's not the city, it doesn't affect the city budget, it doesn't affect the city revenue as taxes to pay this loan. It's surtax dollars that we was awarded by the state through the county. So I think that was the big concern, that is putting the city in per se debt, which is not, actually.
Well, the dollars come directly from the state to the city, and I think Mr. Williamson's indicated that it's about $30,000 a month. I think the debt service on this loan will probably be somewhere around $8,500 a month. So you have plenty of sales tax to cover that loan obligation. So you will budget those surtax dollars and appropriate them in your budget to pay off this loan. That'll be part of your budget, but you will not be using any other tax dollars or raising any taxes for city residents to pay off this loan.
You know, I know it looks like it's a big number, but I'd go look at it when I go out to the field. It's an improvement for the community and our kids. And I think we've been long overdue. I know I had kids out there playing, and when I go out there, sometime when you have other entities coming from out of town, it's very kind of little embarrassment for how I feel was out there when they come. So I'm for this. I'm for the improvement. Any improvement that's come around Pahokee I think it's a good improvement. I think it would be very beneficial to our city, our kids, and our residents.
Question, thank you. It would be seating, field, is there concession?
No, concession is a separate building that we would have to build. I haven't done that much forward thinking on some additional renovations I want once we get into the gymnasium renovations in the area that's right behind the administration. That has been a thought of mine, and I'm seeking how I can finance that moving forward, because that is a concern. A major thing I need to take care of is the fencing. When you put in this style of quality field, you have to protect it. And so the fencing around this entire campus that we sit here today, most of it will not be accessible once we put the new fencing up unless we open the gates. And so you're talking about an 8-foot, 9-foot gate that'll go around this entire perimeter. So it'll surround the entire football field. It'll connect to the wings over here at Everglades Preparatory, and then it will scale the wall of this building here, and it will scale the entry points between this building and the administrative building and the gymnasium, and access points for fans will be from this area here and no other area. There will be emergency access at the double gates on Barack Obama Boulevard for large vehicles, and that's it. So there will be seating. That's not a part of this particular project. It will come at a later stage because they're not ready for that piece of the project to occur, and that's a different project altogether. And there will be fencing installed as well. Those are part of the surtax dollars as well. So you need to get this part secured, as Gary said, because we're on a timeline, and then I'll come back and we'll be looking at the other two major projects that support this, the upkeep and protection of this particular field, which is the fencing and the, well, it really is more the fencing than anything else at this time.
And I imagine too, this would need some additional lighting than what we have currently out there.
No, we have sufficient lighting now. You might remember in 2015, we replaced all the lights out there through the counties. So we have great lighting at night out there. Too much sometimes for the neighbors that live on the other side of the street. But, we can take a look at that. But along with what FPNL is doing, by the way, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's much brighter now at night because we're going through our project with FPNL. When they replace all of these lights on Bacon Point Road, you'll have more than enough efficient light on that football field if we do night activities out there. But the lights we have now are very bright.
Okay. I don't want to mix subjects, but since you mentioned the lighting, Bacon Point Road is getting some additional or some brighter lights because they are a little different from what we have on these
Every
main.
FPNL street light will be replaced in this city, on every street. On every street. Okay, a couple of months, but on every street, every FPNL street light will be replaced.
It's looking good, especially South Lake.
Mr. City, is there any way that maybe one that we can put this up on the
Yeah, she
screen?
has it. We can put it on the big screen right now. I know you guys have handouts, but.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Next slide.
I'm not trying to,
Thank you. I don't know if you can get that bigger or not. There. Yes, ma'am. Question.
I just want to have a question. Why was this, with the city, PNC Bank? Because I know that question going to.
Yeah, we of course approached our hometown bank. There was some difficulty in securing the type of loan that me and the city manager thought was acceptable for the city of Pahokee as far as interest rate. And we went through this for several months actually trying to negotiate a better rate because of course we want to use, our hometown bank. And it just didn't work out. And so we had to look at other options. And Belgrade was one of those options. And they quickly turned around our request and came back to the city attorney with something that was acceptable to us in the city of Pahokee.
Okay,
And good deal.
just for clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna keep our money in PNC Bank though. We're not changing banks.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, having had our preliminary question answered, I'll entertain now a motion for the adoption of Resolution 2018-68.
May I make a motion to accept the resolution 2018-68?
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of Resolution 2018-68. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-68 passes by unanimous vote. Now we will entertain Resolution 2018-69. City Attorney.
2018-69 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, authorizing and directing the mayor to sign an agreement for bond counsel services with the law firm of Lewis, Longman and Walker. Mayor, the bank has required as part of the loan to provide them with a bond counsel that can provide a federal tax opinion with respect to the tax exempt nature of the financing. That's a specialty of law that few firms have, and this firm has agreed to do it for us not to exceed $15,000.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2018-69 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
May I make a motion to accept the resolution 2018-69?
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of Resolution 2018-69. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-69 passes by unanimous vote. Now we will entertain Resolution 2018-70. City Attorney.
This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, directing the mayor to sign the attached sales agreement upon the closing of the Bank of Belglade loan for the purchase of the artificial turf from Field Turf USA, Inc. This is the transaction for the actual acquisition and the installation of the turf and the drainage system underneath it for the amount of $682,280. Again, this is not to be signed until the closing of the bank loan, but this authorizes the mayor to sign it at that time.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2018-70 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
May I make a motion to accept resolution 2018-70?
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of Resolution 2018-70. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-70 passes by unanimous decision. Now we'll move to the two add-ons. We have two add-on resolutions. The first add-on resolution is Resolution 2018-71. City Attorney.
This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, extending the inspection period and the closing date on the as-is contract for sale and purchase of the old hospital. So this extends the date for the purchaser to complete their inspection of the hospital until November 19th, and extends the closing date through December 19th. This is, of course, is a contract that you already entered into.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2018-71 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
May I make a motion to accept Resolution 2018-71?
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of Resolution 2018-71. Call for questions.
I do. I know we entered into an agreement. Okay. And what we're doing is extending a period for the possible buyer to do an inspection.
That's correct.
And also it's extending the closing date to December the 19th.
Yes, sir.
All right. And their plans is for senior living. Well, I know that's the name of the company, but what is their plan?
I have not asked them their plan. I don't know. The
City
real
manager
estate broker may be able to tell you that, but I can't.
I'm going to give a brief statement, and I'm not sure it's accurate. Wasn't expecting that question, but from my understanding, because of the nature of this company, this corporation, and what they do is senior living, and what they want to provide here now is an assisted living facility here in the city of Pahokee, and that is pretty much in line with when we were selling it, and we sent out the RFP for selling this originally. What we were looking to see in this area of the city for this particular facility.
Because I know originally I thought we were looking at, infant to.
Yeah, I wanted some services mixed in for care of kids. I know we don't have children's doctors here in mass out here in the Glades, and it would be good if we had a what they call the doctor, pediatrician in the area or located in that facility as well. That was a request in the original proposal when we were selling the hospital. I don't think it's still off the table. We can still, find some type of agreement to add some of those additional services for children if they can, donate half of a wing or something like that. I'm sure that's still in the conversation, and we can move forward with that type of, because I would like to see that just on the history of the facility itself. I wanted to see that. I can't assure you that they're going to stick to that, but it's not a bad idea to provide that type of service. Not fully, but on a part-time basis. Eye care, dental care, stuff like that. I don't see a problem with that.
I'm gonna say this, and I know folk may disagree with me, and I saw heads shaking and everything when I said it when we had this discussion in the last meeting. I'm somewhat concerned for two reasons. When we start talking about assisted living facilities, one, my question is, has there been a feasibility study done to see if the market is right for it? Number two, I read a little bit too, and you have people that are on different aisles when it comes to the same argument. Some people say, well, the assisted living facility can work in harmony with the nursing home that we currently have. But I read a little bit too, and the state of Florida say I can comprehend pretty well. And in some of my reading, it says that just like it can work in harmony with the nursing home facility that we currently have, it can also be a competing entity. And I'm privileged to, I work at the nursing home facility right now, and everyone that's in that nursing home facility isn't there because they can't do for themselves in some sense. We have some independent individuals there. So one of my concerns is I just don't want us to be in a position where we're just grabbing at something because somebody say they can sell us pie in the sky. and we sacrifice a long-standing staple that has been in our community, because although it's not marketed well, in some instances, our nursing home has been there a while, and it employs a lot of individuals within this Glades community. So I'm gonna be honest, I may be the only one that feels this way, but I am somewhat concerned that this group could feed into the nursing home and vice versa. But I'm also concerned that it could pose a potential, could be a potential competitor with the nursing home as an assisted living facility.
Well, we didn't do a feasibility study. We were told to sell an eyesore in the community.
I understand.
And when we did that, we did it on the premise that, one, when you look at the current facility that we have, this new facility is going to actually increase our economic development and bring more jobs to the city of Pahokee versus what you have now in the healthcare industry. You're talking another, I don't know, 100 jobs or more in this facility. So let's look at it in two ways. I agree with you. You know, we got to learn to have a partnership next door. On the other hand, we'll be bringing in healthcare professionals to Pahokee, you know, at a very high number, possibly over 75 to 100 new jobs. That puts even more pressure on the conversation we had out at the conference of housing in the city of Pahokee for young professionals or mid-age professionals or professionals who, you know, want to come and work in the city of Pahokee. So you got to look at it in a lot of dynamics. There's some pluses, there's some minuses, but I think overall we get rid of an eyesore, we renovate a building, we bring some additional healthcare services, and you're going to give jobs to about 100, you know, new healthcare professionals. But I will agree with you, you know, moving forward, this entity that's coming in, if they're able to buy it, we'll need to work in harmony, you know, with our current healthcare facility that we have here, so there are any adverse, you know, fallout from that. And I hope that they can come in and meet with that organization, and they can get a strategic plan collectively that ensures that they can all survive here in the city of Pahokee.
That sounds good, but how likely is that gonna happen?
Well,
and you got a nursing home that got 120 beds, and on average, you may have 85 residents there. You got Quiet Waters that's within a 6-mile radius of Pahokee. You have that other assisted living facility or senior living area near Winn-Dixie. So, and maybe another area. So my only concern is, and my reservation has been ongoing, that you got a nursing home and everybody in that nursing home isn't on a feeding tube.
right.
Just staring and gazing. You have some people that can walk in and walk out. And I'm not going to break in the hip, because there's one person I can speak of in general that isn't just confined to a wheelchair or a bed. But my thing is, I just don't want us to be in a place of desperation. Yeah, we can sit here and say, oh God, we're going to offer 75 new jobs. But is the market right for that in our community? And I just don't want us to scrap for something. And I know, you know, gentleman is very passionate about selling it. That's the job he's in. He's a broker, you know, he's in that business to sell. But I just want us to make, I'm saying, I'm just one person, and I'm not trying to change anyone else's mind, but I'm going to stand, and like I said to someone at the workshop, whether I'm a one-term commissioner or not, I may have to make some decisions that are popular or unpopular, but I don't feel comfortable about it, because I feel like it may pose as more of a competition than it could be in harmony.
Let me ask this question, Commissioner Everett. Have you heard any concern from the nursing home administration about the facility next door and the possibility of a conflict or competition with them? Because the realtor has indicated he did speak directly with the nursing home, and they don't have any problem with it. And secondly, the feasibility study is really on the person who's purchasing it. That's just to demonstrate to them that there's a market for their product and they would be successful in it. So the city wouldn't put
Well,
any.
I know, you know, and I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, neither do I want mine to be insult. I'm not saying that the city is responsible for doing it. I'm just saying, as a commissioner who will be a part of making the decision of moving this thing through, I'm just voicing a concern that I've voiced ever since it was presented. And as you know, in referencing your question regarding nursing home administration and how they feel about it, if that's what they told you, then let them speak for themselves. But I do know that people can have more than one conversation, but I'll leave it as such.
Mayor, with that, there's always pros and cons to every side. There's always two sides, but I look at it like a McDonald's and a Burger King. When a McDonald's come, a Burger King always pretty much come right across the street from it. They sell the same thing, hamburgers, hot dogs, or whatever. But I think we cannot, I hear the concern, and it is a valid concern, but we cannot stop. It's almost like I work for a doctor's office, and it has a children pediatric inside, but right down the hall in the same building, there's also another doctor's office with pediatric. So, but we cannot stop and say, okay, no, we probably will not allow this to come because of we have another entity that does the same thing. Because if that's the case, every business, if we was to ever get a McDonald's, pretty much a Burger King gonna come and sit pretty much right beside it if there's space available. So I think we have to take it all into consideration. And it is a plus. It is a plus. An eyesore that's been an eyesore over 12, 13 years for the city. And for someone that wants to come in, and I believe that it will work cohesive together, you know, with the partnership. And I think it will work together. So I think it's a great thing, and we always looking for economic development as far as jobs concerned. This can bring additional jobs to our area, also that they don't have to drive outside the area for jobs. So there's always pros and cons, but you know, and I think it all work out in the end, that it will all work out and be benefits to the city and to our citizens.
Well, let me go on the record. I'm not going against job growth or anything of that nature. And I lived in Pahokee a number of years. I'm not a come here. I'm a been here. And Ms. Walker can attest to this. We had a Burger King for years, and we never had a McDonald's. And so one of the concerns that I have, again, is it sounds good now. It sounds good now, but and I hope I'm wrong in this, but I do feel concerned about it.
Okay. Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Nah. No.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-71 passes by a majority 4-1 vote. Now we'll move and entertain Resolution 2018-72. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution of the City Commission, City of Pahokee, approving change orders that are attached to it. There's a change order attached to it for AE Engineering / Slayton Construction Corporation, change order number 1 in the amount of $39,000. And this is for additional work necessary for the restaurant wood deck. I believe primarily with regard to the structure that's going to hold that deck up, the post and the stairs.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2018-72 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for, to accept Resolution 2018-72.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of Resolution 2018-72. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-72 passes by a unanimous vote. Now we would entertain our ordinance. We have an ordinance 2018-03. This will be a public reading. It's a second hearing. City Attorney, could you read this into the records?
This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, repealing Section 2-272, Parent 6 of the Codes of Laws and Ordinance of the City of Pahokee, which provided for the waiver of competitive bidding for procurements where the funding source for the project may be jeopardized by the length of the normal procurement process, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, and effective date. This was on your agenda for first reading on the 14th day of August and was scheduled to be adopted at the latter part of August, but I believe that commission meeting was canceled. And it sort of got lost in the shuffle until it was re-advertised and put on the agenda for your tonight's meeting. Initially, when it was going to be adopted at the end of August, it had a effective date on it of 60 days after passage on second reading. So 60 days from the end of August would be the end of November. So the ordinance then needs to be amended so that it says it's passed, it'll be effective, excuse me, on the last day of November.
Thank you, City Attorney. I would now open the public hearing on ordinance 2018-03. Are there anyone in the audience that would wish to speak on this particular ordinance? Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and entertain a motion from the commission, if that's your pleasure.
May I like make a motion to accept ordinance 2018-03, second reading?
Second.
Applicable on the 30th of November 2018.
With
Sec-
the, with the add-on per se, what the city attorney say, November 3rd, 2018.
Perfect.
Thank you. It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of ordinance 2018-03. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Ordinance 2018-03 on second reading passes by a unanimous vote. Now we'll move to proclamation. We have one proclamation declaring November the 10th through the 18th, 2018 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, this is a proclamation declaring November 10th through 18, 2018 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. Whereas people from all walks of life, including families with children, employed and unemployed workers, elderly residents, veterans, disabled individuals, youth, and individuals are impacted by hunger and homelessness. And whereas the purpose of the proclamation is to educate the public about the many reasons people are hungry and homeless, including the shortage of affordable housing in Palm Beach County for very low-income residents, and to encourage support for homeless assistance service providers, as well as community service opportunities for students and school service organizations. And whereas the theme of the National Hunger and
Awareness Week 2018 is focused on bringing America home by eliminating barriers to accessing essential services such as affordable housing, affordable health care, child care education, and the cost of basic necessities that often contribute to the hunger, food insecurity, and people experiencing homelessness on every given night in Palm Beach County. Whereas the intent of Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week is consistent with the activities of the Homeless Advisory Board, Homeless Coalition, Homeless and Housing Alliance, Palm Beach County Food Bank, the Lord's Place, Gulfstream Goodwill Industries, Adopt a Family, and other service providers in Palm Beach County. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City Commissioner and the City of Pahokee, by virtue of the authority vested in the Mayor of the City of Pahokee, he does hereby proclaim the week of November 10 through 18 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had the proclamation properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I would like to offer a motion that we accept proclamation as read, declaring November the 10th through the 18th, 2018 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption of the proclamation. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. The proclamation passes by unanimous decision. Are there anyone from Palm Beach County Homeless Coalition? Would you please stand and come forward? And would the commission please come down and assist in presenting the proclamation to a representative of the Homeless Coalition? In addition to that, they're going to give a brief presentation to the commission and the public. On behalf, I'm sorry. As mayor of the city of Pahokee, and on behalf of the Pahokee City Commission, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Benny Everett, Commissioner Diane Walker, Commissioner Felicia Hill, and our city manager, Chandler Williamson, and our entire staff, it gives me great pleasure to present this proclamation to Palm Beach County Homeless Coalition, and I'll allow our city Commissioner Felicia Hill to actually make the presentation.
First of all, you look like you very tired.
It's been a long day.
And I can tell.
I actually was at the Boca Council meeting
Oh.
before here.
Wow,
So
okay.
from one end to the other, but we are so grateful.
And we're so grateful that you were able to make it here. And we want to present this proclamation to you, declaring November 10th through the 18th, through 2018 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. And we want to thank you. It's from our Mayor Keith Babb, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Benny Everett, Commissioner Felicia Hill, myself, and our lovely Commissioner Diane Walker, and I'm our City Manager.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, City of Pahokee. You all are one of the 14 municipalities here in Palm Beach County who have proclaimed November 10th through the 18th as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. It is so important to acknowledge and have empathy for those who are living in crisis. We have over 1,600 unsheltered individuals in Palm Beach County on any given night. That number is very different for our children. There are over 4,000 homeless children attending Palm Beach County schools. And it's going to take all of us working together in our communities with nonprofits and other stakeholders in order to end homelessness. So on behalf of the Homeless Coalition, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
We can stay down. Here, so. I'm just, could you just pass those around just quickly so you just get an idea? This next presentation will be going to Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, Station 72, Shift C. On October the 13th, they assisted in saving a young boy life who was playing on some playground equipment and fell on a stake, I think punctured his lung or nearly punctured his lung. And their quick reaction, getting Trauma Hawk to transport him to the hospital in West Palm Beach. In addition to that, they came back out that night to kind of survey the property. I think they removed the stake and made sure that property in that playground area was safe. And we just, as a city commission, if you all could come up and just from this commission, the mayor, myself, Keith Babb, our vice mayor, Clara Mervin, Commissioner Benny Everett, Commissioner Diane Walker, Commissioner Felicia Hill, City Manager Chandler Williamson, and our entire city staff, along with the public. We really want to thank you for your effort. We know working at C shift can be tiresome, but the second effort you gave just to come back and secure that area to make sure no other child will be injured is just commendable. And we want to present you with this certificate. We're going to allow the vice mayor to actually give the presentation.
This is a certificate of hearing. Sorry. Sorry. The City of Pahokee proudly presents the certificate to the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Station 72C Shift. Due to your patience and performance, your actions were instrumental in preventing a potential tragedy on October 13, 2018. Presented this 13th day of November 2018, Mayor Keith Babb Jr., Vice Benny L. Everett, Commissioner Diane Walker, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Felicia Hill, and City Manager Chandler Williamson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a photo and then we'll allow you all to say a few words if you would like.
All right, on behalf of Station 72, I would like to thank the community and the city for recognizing this outstanding work from Station 72 C Shift. So thank you again, really appreciate it. Thank you.
And we'll still recognize them just quickly. There are two young boys who assisted. They was out playing in the playground at that time when the young boy had his injury. They quickly got him up and took him to their grandmother, who immediately called the 911 to actually help expedite the fire rescuer coming out to assist in saving his life. So we wanted to recognize those two individuals. You have the picture of the two. They're not able to be here today because their entire family have the flu, so they're kind of sick in bed. In addition to the certificate, I ordered 2 medallions, hero medals, to present to them. So maybe at the next commission meeting, we'll present it in person to them. But I want the commission to at least announce their name and read their certificates on their behalf.
Certificate of Heroism. The city of Pahokee proudly presents this certificate to Brandon Greenfield in recognition of your act of heroism on October 13, 2018. Mayor Keith Babb, Commission, Chandler Williamson, City Manager.
Basically the same certificate here, the certificate of heroism. The city of Pahokee proudly presents this certificate to Jonathan Moore in recognition of your act of heroism on October 13, 2018. From our Mayor Keith Babb, Commissioner Benny Everett, Commissioner Diane Walker, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Felicia Hill, and our City Manager Chandler Williamson.
And the age of the 2 youth was 12 and 8, and they could have panicked and just left, but they did the right thing. So we really wanted to recommend and appreciate their effort. And okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, thank you. We'll move right along with our agenda. We'll now move into the mayor's report, which will be very brief. The City Commission attended the National League City Summit this week in California. It's a great summit. We brought back a lot of ideas, and hopefully we'll be implementing some of those ideas that we received at that training/summit this week. I'll just mention to you, and I'm quite sure most of you all know, during that time, there were 2 major incidents that happened in California. One is currently underway as we speak. One was a mass shooting. I think about 19 individuals lost their life during that incident, including the person who actually was a shooter. In addition to that, just a day after that, there was a series of wildfires in California. I think it claimed about approximately 45 lives, and that's one of the deadliest wildfires in the history of the United States. So California is dealing with a lot. You wouldn't know that if you wasn't completely in the area and listening to the news, but that community is devastating. So we just want our thoughts and prayer just go out to the residents of California who was affected by those 2 incidents and their families. And that concludes my report. We'll move to the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, Commission, citizens, visitors for coming out tonight. I want to start with, I was at that conference as well. One of the things that I brought back from that conference is the focus that Los Angeles has on housing. If you've ever been to Los Angeles, it's a daunting task with a municipality of that size, trying to bring back housing to the inner city, to suburbs, South Central LA that we all know it on television. They've done some very unique things for housing development. I sat through 2 workshops myself, specifically on housing, and just trying to bring in some of those best practice models that they've been able to secure there in Los Angeles. I think they have a plan by 2020 to have like 2.7 million something type new housing from downtown all the way out into the suburbs. That's an aggressive plan that they have. One of the things that makes Los Angeles unique is they got a lot of land that they own, and so they can leverage the developers to come in and have those types of conversations as versus we don't. But there were some really good workshops, and that was one of the ones that I sort of honed in on, is for housing, to try to get some additional ideas, network with some of the folks that were there that are in the housing development business, and see if they can have an interest, on this side of the United States. So that was, very interesting to me, along with some other workshops about what our responsibilities are is for economic development, community development. They had a litany of different topics that you could pull from. I've never been to the city conference in the fall. It's definitely different than the one we go to in Washington, D.C., because they really roll out all of the information that we need as elected officials, as appointed officials, that we can gravitate to and bring back home. So I was, thoroughly impressed with NLC and what they provided, what they're providing to the nation as a whole. I think it was over 5,000 people there, but it was a great conference. We didn't waste any moment trying to get as much information as we could. Only challenge we had was they're 3 hours behind, and we woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning and everybody was asleep. I think that's the only major challenge we had, which was good. Got a lot done at that time, but great conference. Earlier, Commissioner Everett wanted an update on Marina. We talked about some of the updates in the workshop on the remaining projects that are still ongoing. The plan to open up the seawall for fishing by December 1st. We have Tri-Cities Barbecue here on December 7th. And so that's a very, very important event that we get to host this year. The claim to fame is we host the best one between the two cities. So we're going to put it on again this year. We make sure we have the best ribs in the Glades again this year. But I'm really focused on that date as well, because we want to showcase some parts of the marina outside of some of the renovations that are ongoing. So, and that's really, what I'm looking forward to is showing this community, the Glades, or some of the things that we've done up there. We're not finished, but we got some more work to do. But again, we'll focus on getting the seawall accessible to our residents by December 1st. And it may be a week earlier than that, Mayor and Commission and community, that we allow accessibility to the seawall in that timeline. Commissioners Park, we're done. We just sent in our state report. I actually signed off on the memo today to the state, to DEO, signifying that project is complete. There are 2 remaining small projects that I wanted to do outside of the $500,000, and that is the new fencing around the splash pad. The splash pad is fixed now. We're doing some things with the pump. We're gating off the actual pump area where the pumps are located. That's separate from the fencing of the splash pad. And the gates will resemble the ones around the new tennis courts and basketball court. And so it'll take a couple more weeks, and we'll hopefully, I want to say the second week of December, we'll have a grand opening for Commissioners Park. But we're pretty much done. We're working on the monuments that we had out there. There's some things that my staff is doing to show up the uniqueness of that little small courtyard that we built. And so we're pretty much done. We haven't released the park to public access because, as the mayor mentioned before, we want to go through that park and make sure there's no underlying things that could to harm kids, because we do have several things out there that can injure kids. We have some potholes from not potholes, but sinkholes out there that could cause damage in particular areas. And now that we have the tennis courts back open, well, we'll open them back up. That's the area where that sinkhole is, and we have to address that before we release it back, to the community. So there's some things that I want to do to ensure when that park opens back up that it's completely safe to allow our kids to play in it, because it's going to get a lot of use now that it's been renovated. So we're looking about the second week of December for that, but the project should wrap up before then. Barfield Highway, the engineer and the surveyors are still in the process of designing what that highway will look like. There's some stuff that has to go back to FDOT and then get that approval. As I stated before, that project will not come online until 2019, early 2019, and they'll do it in phases when they get started. So we haven't lost sight of that. That project is moving forward, but there's a lot of extensive administrative work that goes behind this particular road. It's a very long road from one end of the city to the next, and that's sort of out of our hands now. When we release it to the engineers and the surveyors and FDOT, they go back and they do their planning, and so then they come back to us, and then we're able to move forward. Along with that, we're trying to figure out exactly how the funding will go, because this is a $4.6 million project. City of Pahokee doesn't have $4.6 million. It has to be an advanced process that goes on, and that has to align with the services. So when we get an invoice, I can make sure that we're getting that money from the state to pay that invoice. And so those are things we're trying to work out, the timeline, the invoicing, and again, some additional engineering prerequisites are still occurring. It's a massive project that's going to occur. So there's a lot of things that go into that, and that's where we are with that project. There was one more thing.
Glade Citizen Villa.
Glade Citizen Villa. That project is moving forward. If you've been out there, they're working on an ongoing basis. I think we got our first payout for the beginning of the project last week. That is an advanced payment process as well that we were fortunate to work out with the state. And so that's moving forward. There's no completion date on that project, but I can assure you it'll go into 2019. We're in November now. They have a lot to do out there. They haven't even begun to resurface the streets yet. And so they're just focusing right now just on stormwater and getting those drainage pipes in place. And then they'll go into start addressing the streets. So we got a ways to go before that project gets completed. And I'm going to say, 2019 right now. It's November. We're just getting pipes into the ground. So it's a good thing that they're moving forward. The payouts are being paid. And the contractors are satisfied with how we are managing their payouts right now. And so we just got to let them do their work and move forward with the project.
In the repaving of the streets, how would that interfere with traffic? And are we planning on maybe having some type of a community meeting out there to kind of get them?
No, we've already given them their memos on the entire project, and we've explained to them what's going to happen over the next couple of months, so they're prepared for it. There'll be signage when they get to the point where they have to reorganize the traffic coming into those areas. There'll be signage, and that's their responsibility, not the city's. But we have already spoken with all of the residents via leaflets to every resident, and they'll do it in phases. They're not going to resurface and repair all the streets at once. They'll do one part of the community on this day, and it'll go a couple of weeks, and they'll just do it in phases. They won't cordon off the entire community all at once, because that'll be an inconvenience, of course. But we have those conversations. We'll continue reiterating to them that when that time comes, that we'll have the proper signage available for the residents, and maybe we'll go back and get another leaflet and let them know when that part of the project will begin.
So the three major phases would be stormwater, resurfacing of the streets, and then the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quick question, because my grandmother may stop me from eating at her house if I don't put this out there. East Lake Village.
Mm-hmm. That's the last part of the funding from 2017. That project is in the stage just like Barfield Highway. The engineers are preparing to get the bid out on the street. I gave him the end of November to get the bid on the street, so I'm expecting something here fairly soon to get it advertised so we can start receiving bids for that project. And that would be the last of that large sum of money.
Is there a reason for the major delay? Because
No,
you're saying 2017.
No delay.
2019.
No delay. These two stormwater projects are coming from the same entity, and I know we couldn't balance them all at the same time when it comes to funding, and so I selected the lesser one first to move forward with, knowing that East Lake Village is a very particular project because it's not doing streets. It's actually attacking the canals and addressing how those canals flow back into the other connecting canals. And when you talk about that, you have to talk with South Florida Water Management District. You got to get permission from them. They want to see the plans. Their engineers want to see the plans. There's a lot that goes into that particular project that's beyond the control of the city, because we have to send that work off to other agencies to approve it, because it affects their ability to move water from one place to the next. And because we're opening back up a part of the canal, that's an additional conversation that we have to have with South Florida Water Management District. So that's an additional, plans that go to their engineers. They come out, they do their reviews, their surveys. They then send their results back to our engineers, and then they go back to the drawing table and make changes or revisions. And so that's where we are. But I did talk with our engineer and gave him a timeline to see that bid out on the street. So that's a project much more labor intensive administratively because of what we're going to be doing out there. Okay. Legislative affairs. We're still counting votes in this state. So we're sort of in a quagmire of our elections. This affects some ways our strategic plan that not just this city, but all cities are developing for the 2019 session in Tallahassee. Some folks are holding off on developing their legislative strategies because they don't know who they're going to be talking to in January, and I can understand that. However, regardless of how this legislative year pans out, my ability to go to Tallahassee and have those intricate conversations about Tallahassee will not change. Some things change in Tallahassee and some things don't. And my relationships will, remain strong and vibrant for the city of Pahokee, regardless of who's the governor. But I just know right now that everyone's sort of, kind of standing still because they don't know exactly who the leadership's going to be in Tallahassee. But it hasn't changed my focus of what we'll be going up there for. And we'll be going up there again for streets, roads, general infrastructure. We're going to put the marina back on there for more money as well. And that'll be our legislative agenda. And before we move forward with that, you will have a list of things that you will receive that I feel will work as for a good conversation for fiscal leveraging in Tallahassee. That's it, Mayor. Turkey giveaway is Monday, November 19th, 10 till 12. We give away about 100 turkeys to folks here in the community, and that will occur at the old fire station here in the middle of town from 10 to 12. Palm Beach Fire will be providing the turkeys for us, and they'll be on site as well, assisting in giving away to turkeys on Monday, 10 to 12.
Right. Just want to mention too, Anquan Bowling Foundation would also be giving away turkeys because I think the city of Pahokee and the fire rescue have pre-selected 100 needed residents in the community. So those that come up may not be able to receive a turkey here from the city of Pahokee, but they certainly would have the opportunity at the Anquan Foundation to get a turkey.
Where are they giving it?
At the football stadium.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Commissioner Everett, was there any additional, did you get all your reports that I think you mentioned 4, just hopefully you got them all in. Thank you, sir. Now we'll move into the city attorney's report. City attorney.
Mr. Mayor, in your backup today, there's a stipulation and settlement agreement between the city of Pahokee and Town and Country Homes regarding the foreclosure action that we filed against that property. That's a property that had the site of all the vegetative debris that lit on fire and caused all those problems, and the fines built up on them to a substantial amount. The settlement agreement requires them to pay the city $20,000, and they will also submit plans to the city for construction of housing on that site within 24 months from the stipulation. So we'd recommend that you go forward with this stipulation to settle that case.
Okay, we're going to entertain a motion on that, and certainly, hopefully we'll have some discussion for the final vote. I do have a few concerns, but we'll see how far this goes. At this time, we would entertain a motion for the approval of the agreement to proceed with clearing the foreclosure of the property settlement.
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept the attorney's recommendation in moving forward with the settlement of the foreclosure issue as it relates to the subject matter at hand.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin that we proceed with the settlement of the foreclosure agreement. Call for questions. I have a question or two. I understand we're selling for $20,000. That's approximately what percentage of the amount that was originally?
10%.
Okay, because we normally do, in most cases, sell it for 10, in most cases. The only real concern I have is the requirement that they only provide a plan within 24 months. That's 2 years to submit a plan to say, at some point, we would like to build housing there. Right now, we have this property so close in our possession that 20,000 is not that much, that if we had the property, we could, I'm not even using the term give it to a developer, but give it at a price that it would entice someone to come in and want to build homes there. If this entity receive their property back, which I don't have no major problem, but I just hate to see the development there just set for 2, 3, 4 without any determined amount of years before they actually build. We just have more leverage if we had the property. If they came in and say, you know what, City of Pahokee, with 24 months, we will build. Or we will find a developer who will build on this property, because our intention is to either build ourselves or to sell the property so a developer can build. So that's my only concern. We giving it back without any assurance that this property will be developed in the near future.
But Mayor, Commission, we don't own it right now.
Right, I know.
It's privately owned, and there's no, and I'll lean on the city attorney, but there's no guarantee that if we continue with a foreclosure, that it's going to rule in our favor. The owner came to us with a plan to build housing. They know they can't, they don't have the plan currently. They do have I've seen the actual plans for housing, but they wanted to do their due diligence to ensure that they have enough time to put all of their, I guess, financing in order, architecture, engineering, and they thought that was a sufficient time. And it is housing. And yeah, it is, they get up to 24 months to provide us with a plan for the development of housing. Now, if they don't provide us a plan for housing, I think we go back to the drawing table. Correct me, city attorney, if I'm wrong. We go back to the drawing table, and that foreclosure goes back on for conversation. I'm thinking I'm saying that right, city attorney. And on top of that, they have to maintain the property.
If they don't give us a plan in the 24 months, they have to give us a property by a warranty deed.
Right. So there is some security in place for that. And on top of that, moving forward, once we agree to this deal, they got to maintain that property. I mean, they got to get out there, clean it, cut it, etc., until they decide to, not decide, but until they develop the housing on it. So there are some prerequisites there that ensure that they're going to, stay committed to this agreement.
Okay, again, my concern is there's no firm commitment from this entity other than to provide us with a plan. And a plan could be, when they do provide it within the 24-month period, is we would build houses or seek a developer to build houses in the next 10 years or 15 years. That's a plan, but is it a plan that would be acceptable to us? You know, we're giving them 2 years to come up with a plan, and the plan could be, we're gonna build houses or seek a developer in the next 10 years. So I don't know how much meat we have there. It's little there, and if we don't receive the property in foreclosure, what is the risk? We really don't have any downside other than possibly losing the 20,000 that we will be receiving. You know, so I'm not saying, I'm just kind of being devil advocate. I think we really need to look at this and make sure we're comfortable with turning the property back over without a real concrete plan other than to receive a plan in the next 24 months.
Is the reason that we don't have much leeway, is it because it's their property, technically?
It's their property, yes.
But it's in foreclosure though. So we have a strong chance of receiving it because they're not gonna be able to pay the amount that would clear that foreclosure. I'm not saying we're gonna automatically get it.
So
but we
that
got a
24
strong
months will
chance.
allow them to come up with,
If not, then as the city attorney explained.
so if they don't have us a plan within that 24 month, then automatically it's a warranty deed that comes back.
Yeah, so all they have to do is provide a plan for housing in 24 months. There aren't really any specifics about what that plan has to say.
Cause to be honest, I'll be happy and satisfied if we gave them 24 months to build a housing development. Even 36 months, if that's, we can have the assurance in the next 3 years, a housing development gonna go there. But we don't have that assurance. Only thing we're asking, and it took some negotiation to even get that much. I've been reading it, I don't know if the commission, I've been reading the back and forth memos. It took some negotiation just to get them to that point, to come up with a plan. But they're not gonna put themselves on an obligation to build housing. Their obligation right now is to give us a plan within 24 months, which don't necessarily say that they're gonna be obligated to build a house.
I think we should put some more stipulations in it.
Well, what do you suggest, Attorney Brandon Byrne?
I think that
Well,
was
the
the
mayor is correct.
suggestion.
There's no definitive commitment to build a single house.
No, I think
The
we-
only commitment is to give you $20,000 and to give you a plan which they may or may not implement in the future. We had asked them previously, we sent them a settlement agreement that said you had to build so many houses within a specific period of time, do the subdivision, put in the infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. They came back to us and said, can the city help us put in the infrastructure or find any money from an agency to put in the infrastructure? And our response to that was, well, there might be money available, but we can't guarantee it, and, you know, we're not sure if you're gonna be eligible to obtain it or not. So we can't. So they basically said, no, we're not gonna commit to building any housing because we're not sure what the market's gonna be, you know, a year from now. Is there gonna be a sufficient housing market to sell a single house? They don't know. So they wouldn't commit. So the only thing they would commit to is this. So you really have a choice. I don't think they're going to increase their offer here. So it's a choice to go forward with the foreclosure and see if we win it, or take their $20,000 and their plan. That's a choice.
And to be totally transparent, I think the last offer to them was to commit
To building 3 houses. You know, we figured if we get something there,
Right.
you know, it's gonna entice them to continue, but we couldn't even get a commitment to build
Right.
3 houses, so I'm just letting us know what we're dealing with.
Right.
And I spoke with the individual, and I kinda liked them, but I mean, there was no real commitment here, you know?
So basically, that would just be. sitting
Well,
there.
I mean, it's, You know, the mayor makes a good point, but let's just say we don't win any foreclosure. They still own the property, they ain't gonna do nothing with it, because they have
Here's
no
another
obligation at all.
perspective on it. They are a home builder. They own this property. If they see a point in time where it is financially opportunistic for them to move forward and build housing, they'll do it. If you obtain the property, we go through the litigation, you don't get the 20,000, then you're gonna have to put it back out for bid for somebody else, and that other person isn't gonna buy it or build on it unless it's financially opportunistic for them to do it. So, are you really gaining anything by going through that process? No one's gonna commit to build housing out there that they're gonna lose money on, right? No one's gonna do that. So, these guys aren't gonna do it. If you take the property from these guys, they're a home builder, you're gonna look for somebody else. No one else is gonna commit to building housing that they're gonna lose money on. Unless you have a housing authority or some other public agency that's getting money from somewhere else to subsidize the housing, right? But we don't have that. At least we don't know about it yet. I haven't seen it. If we had that, we would have done it long before now. So if you don't accept their offer, I think maybe you're giving away 20 grand and you're agreeing to a lot of work in the future that may not get you anywhere. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Any additional questions? Okay, so we'll entertain a motion that's the city attorney's recommendation that we move and accept the agreement.
May I make a motion to accept the motion of the city attorney to accept the 20,000 for town and country? That's the name of it?
Yes.
Development.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Everett that we accept the agreement to move forward on the settlement of this property. Call for questions.
I wanted to play hardball, but okay, go. I'm sorry, no questions. I wanted to play hardball.
Okay.
I really did, but okay.
I have one question. Really one statement. We may be losing 20,000, but I feel if we are successful in the foreclosure, we got more leverage to entice a developer to build. That's the biggest hurdle in providing housing in Pahokee is the availability of land. So we will, no guarantee, but we are close of having some land to even give it to a developer to build. So that was my rationale behind it. Okay, hearing no additional question, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
No.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bat.
No. Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The motion to make the settlement passes by a majority, 3-2 vote.
Okay.
City Attorney.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll.
City Attorney, I do have two questions. I know we're ready to get out, but I do want us to try to provide some clarity in areas of cloudiness. One from our workshop was this looming water bill. And I've heard, as it relates to marina activity. Now, there's two schools of thought, and I'm leaning toward you to provide the clarity, or city manager. From my understanding, there was one school of thought that the city, the city is in debt with this near $300,000 bill. And there's another school of thought that it's not the city that owes it, if I'm hearing correctly, but it is an entity that was occupying the marina, managing, running it, that the bill belongs to. So can we be provided some clarity with regards to that?
Okay, the issue with respect to who owes the money, if any is owed, is very murky. And let me tell you, because the history of the water at the marina, when the marina first was developed by Mr. Sheehan and Mr. Sprague under Everglades Holdings, the city owned the water system. And that marina was developed under the basis that the city was going to continue to own it. While the city owned the marina, the city had the flexibility to set up payment schedules for water that was provided to the marina. After the marina was built, with that in mind, the cities got together and they sold their water system to the GUA and then eventually to Palm Beach County. Once that happened, the city lost the ability to have flexibility on the way water was charged up there. So under the county policy now, they had what's called a readiness to serve fee. In other words, if you had an outlet for water at each campsite was going to be charged a readiness to serve fee, whether any water was used or not, under the county policy. And as a result of that, I believe it was under Mr. Gray, there was a lot of discussions with the county about how to do it. I think Mr. Gray actually shut down part of the camp area and took out the ability to provide that part of the camp area with water so that the county wouldn't charge them that readiness to serve fee for the entire campground. And the thought being, well, once we get, 25 spaces filled up, then we'll go and we'll hook up another 25, and on and so forth. Well, that never came to fruition because, of course, he went under and he was long gone. And the issue of how to equitably provide service up there under the county system never really reached a resolution. The former city manager never resolved it with them, and our current city manager is planning on going over to the county and try to resolve that on a permanent basis so we can move forward with these campground sites without them incurring humongous water bills even when they're not in use. So that discussion has to move forward with the county. So really, at this point in time, until we sort all that out, it's a murky situation at best. I can't really say that it's owed by us, or maybe it's owed by some other entity that's not around anymore. We'd like the flexibility to engage in those conversations with the county and arrive at a solution that'll work for the city in the future. That's where we are on the water bills with the county.
How favorable does the conversation look?
Hasn't occurred yet.
I'm saying, okay. No preliminary discussions?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
That's where we are. So we really need, that's something that has to be worked out before those campgrounds up there are ever going to be successful.
Also, the concern with regards to being placed back on the agenda.
All
the
right.
leases,
yep.
Along with the investor.
Okay, with respect to that issue, since the city's retreat or workshop, whatever you wanted to call that meeting, I had a direct conversation with the person in charge at at the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and they confirmed that their position was that there was no lease going forward to the governor and cabinet until the repairs of the sewage collection system and disposal system at the marina was completed. And that's their position, and really we have to abide by that. So there will be no efforts really I don't think any efforts would be wise to try to get them to put it back on the governor and cabinet's agenda until that's completed.
In the meeting, it was stated, if my memory serves me correctly, that that the city manager, if I'm quoting, and I don't like to quote individuals inaccurately or
Right.
put words in their mouth, but it was stated that possibly the city manager or someone made a call to have those leases removed and not pushed forward.
Yes. Okay. So what occurred there was the city manager had a conversation with FDEP, and he was told the leases aren't going to go forward with a positive recommendation with us until that system is fixed. The city manager then had a conversation with me and asked me to place a call to Cheryl McCall at the state of Florida, which I did. And she confirmed that the leases would not go forward until the beginning of the year when these items are fixed.
Okay.
If, just to conclude, if those things are wrapped up before then, we certainly like to see that conversation take place on behalf of these leases. And so we're hopeful that that'll occur. There's no guarantee, but you know, we don't have a roadblock. We have an agency standing there saying, you know, finish the work.
So with all of the nuances surrounding the marina and taking care of the sewage problem, I think it was some things stated that it could be done 7 to 10 days.
Right. No.
With respect to that statement, we have a contractor that's under a contract right now to finish the job by January 1st. We've entered into that contract. That's water under the dam at this point. We can't change that contract. We've given them until January 1st to complete it. Whether someone else could have completed it in 15 days or 30 days or 45 days, it doesn't really matter. We have a contract with the guy to finish it by January 1. And we can't repudiate the contract, and he's out there working. So January 1's the date, any way you look at it.
But also sticking to the integrity of the project that we have to confront. Is it humanly possible for that work to be done in a 7 to 10 day period? Because from my understanding,
Excuse me.
It's not.
When that conversation happened, they were already on the job 2 weeks. So that 7 to 10 days was killed a long time ago. They were already on the job 2 weeks at that point. And let me just remind the commission and community, this is the company that built that system. This is not a new company coming in trying to repair the sewage pump out system behind another company. They installed it. They know exactly how it works, where every nick and cranny is, and how to repair it. And we were fortunate to get them back. So they're the experts in what was originally built there, because they're the company that put it in there. The guy that built the system was here, and he remembered the project. So that 7 to 10 day statement, well, they were already on the job, what, I don't know, 2 weeks into the job at that point. So no, it wasn't going to take 7 to 10 days.
I think that's
Now, if they come back and wrap it up sooner than expected, that would be great, because then that releases the conversation to get back on the table, and we all want that to occur sooner than later, because we are under some time constraints to get some things done. And we look forward to having that conversation with the state and getting it back on the table sooner than later. Now, you know, could we possibly try to get it back on the table and have a conversation even though it's still ongoing? According to the city attorney, no. They don't want to have the conversation until it's complete.
Well, you have other issues in there as well. You've got what is frequently referred to as a lame duck governor and cabinet. And do you want to try to get something pushed forward and have them approve it at the last minute before they leave office and you get a new governor and cabinet in? Unlikely that a state agency is going to try to do that, particularly when one of their own departments is saying there's a problem with the sewage out there. So you're really trying to push a bowl of Jell-O up a hill with a straw to try to get that thing on there. At this point in time, with the elections, the new governor and cabinet coming in office, it's not just not a wise idea to do it.
And I think, and I may be blasted for this, but I think we shot ourselves in the foot in some respects with amplifying and magnifying the crises that, you know, with the whole issue, you know.
Absolutely.
We talked about it, about, you know, we need to watch our Facebook activity, you know. And I think, and whether we want to accept some of the honors or not, but I think we shot ourselves in the foot when we blasted and magnified and made something that could have possibly remained a molehill.
That's right.
But we turned it into a mountain, you know, by threatening messages and calls and all those kinds of things. And so sometimes we just, you know, got to suffer from our own demise. But I think, you know, with correcting the problem, and, you know, if the scope of work gets done sooner than later, then it's a great possibility that, you know, we can entertain being back on there. But I really feel, and people may not agree with me, but I think we got ourselves to blame for that.
Okay, thank you.
Now we just got to learn to close them out.
That's the conclusion of your report, City Attorney.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. And we have old business. We don't have any old business, but just to remind staff, we did instruct staff to continue to have the marina update. And I know our city manager kind of give us an update on each of his reports about the city. I'm going to say about the marina, but this would allow residents to fill out a comment card to ask questions specifically on the marina if it's part of the agenda. And with the expense we're spending up there and the effort it's going to take to really get this marina where it needs to be, I think it should be an ongoing agenda item, which we had all agreed to in the past. So I would just ask staff if they could continue to just list that as an item to this project is totally completed. Okay.
Does that include expenses, all the expenditures that have occurred?
Yeah, that could be part of it. We just want to make sure that at each commission meeting, we give some type of update.
Exactly.
And there's some time and there may not be anything to report, but at least we'll share that and say, you know, from the last meeting, there wasn't any activity that need to be reported, but it'll be a part of the agenda.
Yeah,
okay. New business, we don't have any new business. Now we'll move to citizen comments and general concerns. At this time, city clerk, do we have any comments card from citizens? No. Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll move into the correspondence, comments, and concern of the city commissioners. We'll start to our right with Vice Mayor Mervin.
Mayor, just a short comment. I know I also went up to LA this past week, and we was able to go on a tour of Watts at the Watts community up in LA. And we all know the history of Watts. And you know, that was your gang activity where you had your Crips and your Bloods, you know, in that community, where over 1,000 people got, you know, killed in that community. Also in that community also is like a 1,400 or 1,600 project unit. At one point when on the tour, they were saying that at one time the police didn't even go into that community. So on any given day when your kids walk out, they were walking over dead bodies or what have you in this community. Well, the reason they took us to this community because of the redevelopment now of it. And basically how they became cohesive together, we have a Crip and a Blood now. They'll squash the rivalry between them, and now they're working together in harmony. And what took me and like with this community is, I know we have a commission, we have a mayor, but in that community, it did not take the commission and the mayor to put that community back together. It actually took the citizens. When they got tired and sick and tired of how the community looked, how they community, because in this community, now you know LA is a big place. So, but in this community, they said they realized that the community around them was growing and that they were noticed in their community, it was stagnated. Nothing was going on. But when they realized now, okay, now we're only hurting ourselves by not engaging with the other communities. So what they did was started having conversation with the mayors, with the commissioners, with the legislatures, with the community police played a big part in coming to bringing the community together. The reason I'm saying that, as in for what they were saying, we in our community have to stop fighting each other and go into the real picture and see what is the real picture. And we cannot keep blaming, well, the commissioner this and the commissioner's this and the mayor's this. We all have to take ownership of our community. And how we do that is we partner together and say, what can I do? What can I help bring to the table to help make our community a community to live, to sleep, to work, and to play? It takes all of us as a partnership to come together. That project unit was like, if you look at it, almost like a concentration camp for where when they came from the army back in the 50s, where the housewives and stuff lived. But now if you was to see the community and what they're building like 3-story townhomes. I mean, beautiful townhouses. And one thing the mayor was saying before I got there, they said, if you build it, they will come. It's not saying that they have all of the resources, because it's still very high unemployment rate. But what they also did, they knocked down this wall that kept the division in that community. So I would like to plead to our community and to our citizens that we can grab hands and work together, and let's find, and you hear something, and I always say, let's find the facts out of it instead of go on running what this say, this and this say. Let's find out and be informed on what takes place in our community to bring our community back together. And because we could be a community, a bed and bath community. I really believe that, but we have to work together. It's going to take some efforts. In that workshop, it talked about resources that we can implement. But I always say, but we come back and we can be on a gung-ho and do it, but until our community help want to receive what we bring back, nothing is going to change. So there are going to be some ordinances that they have, and we're not doing anything different from what they're doing, implementing it. It's just their citizens now are engaging in those ordinances, what they're doing. So if we could just come together and work together with our policing, with our commission, with our other leaders, and work together, I believe our community can be what we want it to be. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Everett.
Okay, my comment is going to be in part a question directed toward our city attorney. And I'm doing this not because I'm hard-headed or lack understanding, but I'm doing this to see if I can get some clarity. Okay. and I understand that this marina issue is a very delicate and very soft spot in our community for some of our citizens. Okay, first question, city attorney. Were you at any time directed by the city manager to call the state of Florida on any level and tell persons up there to take these projects off the agenda?
Yes, after Chandler talked with FDEP and they told him, look, we're not going to approve this if it's going forward. I got a direction from Chandler to call up there and tell them to take it off the agenda.
So at the advice of the Florida
Department of Environmental, that's correct.
You, at the advice given by Florida DEP,
Yes.
to our city manager,
That's correct.
he then called you
Right.
at their advice saying, hey,
That's right.
we're not going to push it, so
Not only are they not going to push it, they're going to block it.
they're going to block it.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And so the issues on the marina regarding sewer, sewage, what have you, is an issue that would negatively impact
It's a deal. It's a deal killer.
the marina area. The
It's
marina
a deal
area.
killer.
It
for the
involves the
leases.
marina area.
That's right.
Okay, I'm not hard-headed.
No, no.
And I'm not hard to comprehend. But
You're trying to get the word out to the
Transparency.
public,
Yes.
make sure everyone understands. I understand.
some clarity, because it seems as if, and I hope I'm not being offensive to
You're
anyone.
not at all. I'm sorry if I reacted.
No. But I would want to trust my colleagues,
Mhm.
you who we've hired to keep us legal,
Yes.
and the city manager whom we appointed to provide truth and facts to us.
Absolutely.
And that you're not misleading us in any way.
That's right.
Okay. So you're saying the only reason that you called to have that taken off the agenda was because DEP said you can send it up if you want to, but it would be a moot point.
Oh, yeah, and as I told you before, there were 3 reasons.
Yes, sir.
That was the number one primary reason.
Mhm.
The second one was the reason I just told you. You've
Uh-huh.
got a lame duck governor and cabinet that would be considering it at the last moment before they left office. Wouldn't look good for anybody. And then third, if you elect a new governor, depending on who that governor is, you might have a better chance of getting a better deal for the city. All those 3 items, which I mentioned during the retreat, during the workshop, are still the 3 items and the reasons why that action was taken.
Thank you.
That's any of your comments, Commissioner? Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walker.
I would like to know if any attempt to with the to you, Mr. Chandler, Mr. Williams, to get the property at the school, the old school office, the program with the men at this, on the ship, with the.
Are you talking about the counterpoint?
Hmm?
You talking about the floating
Yes.
counterpoint?
About the-
We haven't had any conversations outside of some things that have happened prior to. They were trying to put a committee together to sponsor, the funding of the programs and the
Yeah.
operation and the maintenance. I think that's an ongoing conversation. I haven't gotten any recent updates
Okay.
From those
Can you
individuals
keep
involved.
us informed of that,
Yes, ma'am.
please?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Because we need that uh, 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 according with the program he's offered, and the one Mr. Jackson, you know, Bernard, I mean Bernard,
Anthony Jackson.
him.
Right. Yeah.
We need to through that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know I want to know if we have any interest in the property on Ridgeway Road. The 28, the 26 acres.
29 acres out on the outskirts of town.
Yes.
Do we have any interest in that?
Yes. What
There's
are we
one
doing
entity that's had an interest in it, and I'm not prepared to bring that to the commission. I've had some preliminary discussions with the city attorney about this particular entity wanting to do some type of farming on it, and until they bring us something more fluid that we can present and we can research appropriately, it's just, we own that 29 acres right now. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there's been no other offers.
I just know what we are going to do with it.
Oh, right now we holding on for it for dear life, and hopefully a housing developer comes and have a conversation,
okay.
or even this particular entity that's been engaging the city periodically, they'll bring something more tangible to the table that we can bring back to the commission. I'm very hesitant right now to talk about that particular entity because it's very sensitive based on state law.
Doing something.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. As long as you're doing something.
Right.
I think that's all I have at this point.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad you have an update on the marina, and they will progressing with that. I don't have any. Thank you all for being here, and good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Walker. I got 3 quick comments. Mr. Joe Freeman was inquiring about the fishing, and I just want to give him just a quick update. The seawall will be open no later than December the 1st. Quicker if possible. We asked the city manager if there anything hindering him from opening that up. So we're real close, Joe. So the latest December 1st, hopefully a week or 2 even prior to that.
People call me off from Miami. A lot of their opponents be coming out from decades.
Right.
Wondering what's the problem. And that's a lot of people's livelihood just to go up there and fish and just get away.
Right.
And it appeared to the public that it just dragged.
Right.
Dragged. Just dragged for no reason. I'm just glad you was actually there. I see why so much going on. We ain't got nobody here. I see why we doing what we doing in both.
Exactly.
Get him, see what's going on.
That's right.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
That's right.
Everybody call all the old people be sitting on the street, Joe, what's going on?
That's right.
The field runs.
Thank you.
That's all you're saying about the field.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad you acknowledge that. I don't know the reason for it. Everybody down from Wiley to County, it is dragged.
Okay.
Dragged.
That's why I say the update of the permit.
City manager, I didn't mention this earlier, but since I saw him, I'll just bring it up.
Yeah.
Are we able to do anything with the cane across from King B?
The what?
The cane,
Let's get signed.
the cane across from King B, the field out there going in that curve.
That's not.
Main cane, yeah.
I'll let Vice Mayor Bourbon explain to y'all for the 10th time why we really can't do much. We don't own it, and we try to engage the county that owns part of it, and then the Conservancy owns a part of it, and then when we address to them, hey, we need to take care of this, they point the finger at the other private owner, and then the private owner point the finger at the Conservancy that it's their responsibility, but we can't touch it.
Around King.
Yeah, and
So-
I went to the
Not city property.
county, I went to the mayor in Palm Beach County, they came out and looked at it. I had, the guys that came, they came and cut so much of their part, left some, but to me, that is to bad eyesore on that, and it needs to be cut down. I tell you, if I had a big lawnmower, then I wouldn't even care who property it is. I would just go and just get it cut down, because that's what it needs. But they said it's about 3 different owners on it, and then on the other end, you know, you got a cane field, a private owner own the cane field, and he owns part of it. So he keep it up high because of his property there. Then you have the DOT owns so much of it, then whoever owns it. So it's just sad that it has to get like that. Because I always say if it was over in another town, they've been to cut it down. They don't care who property, they send the bill out to whoever owns it.
City Attorney, I know this is involved in a lot of entities, but from a legal aspect, I know we should be an advocate, and we're trying to be an advocate to get this taken care of. But what would be your suggestion? Should we write letters to each entity, or what can we do to kind of expedite getting this done?
Sir, I'm going to have to look into it and find out more details about it myself before I can make a recommendation to you.
Okay. So Vice Mayor, if you could share what information you have received, including city manager, we should have the attorney at least look into the possibility of addressing it. And first and lastly, just want to remind Commissioner Everett, it would be his turn to select the 2 businesses. And just for future references for the commission, we've gone from our right to our left. So the next one would be Commissioner Walker, myself, Commissioner Hill, and back to Commissioner Vice Mayor Merriman. The selection of the 2 businesses, it would be now Commissioner Everett turn. I think we got away from that about a month, so we just want to get back on target with doing that. And now Commissioner Hill.
I normally just make sure I close the curtains, but I think it goes back to what Mr. Fryer was saying about the first thing we got to learn to do. We got to get more involved, and the community is just going to have to get more involved with a lot of things that's going on, because you know, people don't understand what we go through as leaders in the community, and this commission has to endure. You know, people would get on Facebook and say things, and a lot of the things would not be true. And those are battles we have to fight all day, even with the city manager. There are things that go on. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. There are things that can't be discussed. You just don't know. But if you come and attend and you get more involved, I promise you, you would have a clear understanding of what's taking place. And I think that's the most important part for me tonight. And other than that, you know, you guys, I close the curtains. Good night.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.